The L'Oreal School Division brings together a community of schools on the traditional land of the Anishinaabe, Innuak, and Dakota. Our division is located on the homeland of the Métis. We recognize that Manitoba is also the traditional land of the Anishinaabe and Diné. We respect the treaties made on this land and acknowledge the harms and mistakes of the past and present. We dedicate ourselves to authentic alliances with Indigenous communities in a spirit of reconciliation and cooperation.
Welcome everyone. We are so glad that you could join us for the Nelson McIntyre Family Schools Town Hall. My name is Warren Engill, Vice Principal of Nelson McIntyre Collegiate, and I'll be your moderator for this evening. There'll be three parts to our night. We will start with greetings from the board office, and then we'll hear from each of our schools in our family, which includes Nelson McIntyre Collegiate, Archwood School, Nordale School, and Marion School. And then we'll finish the evening with a question and answer session. So if you have a question, feel free to put it in the chat box below, or if you want, you can hold on to your question and you can ask that in person. I'll give further instructions on how we can do that before we begin our Q&A. But let's get things started. And so to start our evening, I'd like to introduce Trustee Mrs. Louise Johnson, Chairperson of L'Oreal School Board, who will bring greetings from the board office.
Thanks, Warren. It is a pleasure to be here this evening representing the Board of Trustees. We are truly looking forward to hearing from the Nelson McIntyre family of schools. This pandemic has made it difficult for us as a community to be inside our schools. So tonight we get a snapshot directly from the schools themselves. They will share some very exciting learning that is happening right now. You will hear from an incredibly innovative and talented staff that have reimagined school to ensure that our students are safe and engaged in their learning. I want to publicly acknowledge and thank every staff member who continually provide a safe, inclusive, and engaging environment. Their commitment to our students and their continued success has not wavered during this pandemic. They are there every day for our students, our family, and our community. I would like to thank each of you in attendance this evening for your incredible support and trust during these unprecedented times. The COVID-19 pandemic remains one of the largest challenges we have ever had to face as a school division and as a community. Let's focus on the successes that we are going to witness in this town hall this evening. Once again, on behalf of the Board of Trustees, thank you. Now, let's hear a message from our Council of Grandmothers and Grandfathers.
Hello, I'm Grandmother Paha. Each one of us, our job is teaching and healing. I've heard Wanbidi Wakita, my husband, say that many times. Years ago, each year, I would participate in a ceremony that required me to hike up a mountain with a backpack on and stay there for 4 days while I fasted from food and water. A whole group of us women went every year. And I was taught that it was important to stay in balance while we were participating in this ceremony as we hiked up the mountain and then 4 days later when we hiked down. I prepared for it all year. I trained, I was organized. I had every little thing that I would need, and I had it all packed in my backpack, ready to go. One of the first things I learned was that when you're a group, you can only go as fast as the slowest person. And there were many times that I had to find a lot of patience to wait for the ones who were not as prepared as I. And I found I could stay in balance. I could stay peaceful on the inside and in a place of happiness and joy and love in spite of the challenges that this experience offered. And then the next year, a woman joined our group by the name of Addie. Now, Addie is a powerful teacher. Everyone loves Addie, but for some reason, Addie always gives me a hard time. She's harsh, she's critical, and she's just tough on me. And yet I knew that it was important for me to continue to stay in balance and to find that place of kindness and love and peace on the inside. And Addie challenged me to do that in spite of all the challenges that she offered. And I found over the years that I could do that. And as I got better at it, Addie got sick and she passed away. The next year when we went up the mountain, Addie was not with us, but a new woman was. And guess what? She was exactly like Addie. And people loved her, but for some reason, she always gave me a hard time. Addie 1 and Addie 2, I say thank you to you. Both of you have given me such great teaching. It's one thing to stay in balance and to be kind and loving and peaceful on the inside when everything is a certain way and you're used to it. But then when life offers something or someone that adds another layer of challenge, then I have an opportunity to grow those muscles and stay in balance in spite of that extra burden of challenge. And sometimes I might not be able to, but the more that I practice it, I can. And it's teachers like Addie 1 and Addie 2 that help me to do that. As I can adopt the perspective that each situation in my life is offering me teaching and healing, teaching that I need and teaching that I offer, and healing that I need and healing that I offer. As I adopt that perspective, then I am more free. Thank you for listening to me. Have a wonderful day. I'm Grandmother Paja.
Awesome. Thank you, Pahan. Next, I'd like to introduce you to the Superintendent and CEO of the Louis Riel School Division, Mr. Christian Michaluk. He will guide the presentation by interviewing administration from each of the 4 schools, and then you'll see a video about each school. Please welcome Mr. Michaluk.
Thanks, Warren. So this year, like Louise has already said, is so different from a typical way of being with each other. Parents and guardians haven't had the opportunity to visit schools and see for themselves all of the learning that continues to occur despite a pandemic, and all the safety measures that have been put in place to allow for that learning to flourish. All students, staff, and families are being so amazingly resilient and inventive in finding the strength to navigate the pandemic. And this evening's about celebrating that community effort, from collectively finding a variety of ways to achieve 2 meters of physical distancing from that very first day of school in September, to adapting to all the protocols and everything in between. I continue to be so impressed and so grateful to all of you, especially as we are confronted with a 3rd wave. Really, we're going to need to find the strength to not let our guard down. More on that later. For now, I'm also grateful for the colleagues that are joining me this evening, one of which is Marlene Murray, the Liaison Assistant Superintendent for the Nelson McIntyre Family of Schools.
Hi, everyone. As Christian pointed out, this year is truly like any other. However, tonight you are going to get a sneak peek into the day in the life of our students and see just how well they've adjusted and see examples of resilience, adaptability, and a whole lot of joy. Now, some of our students in the Nelson McIntyre Collegiate family of schools and across the Lure-Rail School Division have left their brick and mortar classrooms to attend the Learning from Home school. This option was created last August to support students who are required to learn from home because of a medical condition that affects themselves or a family member. And so tonight you're going to get to hear Nevada Khan, a grade 7 student from Nordale School, who's going to share some very engaging, wonderful, fun, exciting experiences she's had as a student from the Learning from Home school.
My name is Nevada. I am in grade 7. I am Weatherman. Mr. Hart is my teacher at Learning from Home school. This year has been different. Mr. Hart makes school fun. He is awesome. My favorite part is flip grid video projects, mathematics online math, having class discussions. We had talks with students in countries and with a scientist in a lab. That's cool. I wish my classmates would turn on their cameras more like me. Thank you for making my home learning so exciting. Thank you for listening to my presentation. Have a lovely day.
Thanks to Nevada for sharing her experience in the Learning from Home school. I'm now joined by Charlene Smallwood, principal at Nelson McIntyre School, Collegiate. You know, I have many fond memories of Nelson McIntyre Collegiate as a middle school student who attended École Précieusant a long time ago in the 1970s, the past century. And so what I remember about Nelson McIntyre Collegiate was this was the place where I would go for practical arts, climbing up that hill to that big school where all the big kids hung out, and learned in a foreign language, in English, and where I would learn from teachers like Mr. Bean how to shape wood, how to make things out of wood, and so. Charlene, tell us about how your school maybe looks a little different from from what it did back in 1976, as this memory comes back to mind.
Well, it's fun that you call us the big school. We think of ourselves actually as a small school with really big opportunities. And that's because we have about 310 students and 75 staff here at Nelson Mac. We actually have a multitude of unique programming here at the back. And our goal really is to help our students become the best versions of themselves while we gear their education towards them and their needs, and we help them find their voice. And we're really a diverse group of learners here. We truly value that diversity, and we actively work to help our students to grow and to find and celebrate their uniqueness, while at the same time finding and gaining multiple perspectives from others. It's this celebration of diversity, I think, that makes us pretty special, as our students get to know each other and themselves really well.
So for the parents of the elementary school students joining us this evening, can you tell us more about what makes Nelson McIntyre unique?
We've actually, over the last 6 years, we've been working to reimagine high school with a focus on creating self-directed learners. And I'm sure you can all imagine how important that is in particular this past year. But we're especially working on what I'd call transferable skills, collaboration, problem solving, creative thinking, time management, and others. And we do that through what's called a project-based learning lens. And that project-based learning model allows and compels our students to actually make active decisions about their learning, and really helps to develop their strengths and their voice.
So you mentioned project-based learning. I know many assume that project-based learning is difficult to achieve in a pandemic, but I know that the Nelson McIntyre Collegiate community has been able to see this way of learning and teaching continue to flourish. How has your school adapted to the pandemic, Charlene?
Well, for sure, things are more difficult in the time of COVID, just thinking through all the protocols and the things we need to work through. But project-based learning does allow our students to work through an inquiry model that is actually quite appropriate for this time because of the level of independence that's required. And we work really hard to help our students make those personal decisions, create some priorities, find choice and voice in their learning. And we've worked very hard at this year in particular. And we're actually working to find some joy in all this time of COVID as well. And so to share that tonight, we have put together a very small sampling collection of pieces where we found joy this year.
Great, let's watch.
Welcome to Nelson McIntyre. NMC is a place where you can learn how to develop your skills, your passion, and your individuality. And this is often because we get a choice on what we learn and how we learn it.
We recently finished a project called The Mace. In this project, we had to answer the driving question, how should Canada be governed? Each group had a 20-minute Teams call with a government official. I think an experience like The Mace is something every student should have. It is really an eye-opening experience that grows your understanding of the world around you.
This year, we did a motion project where we experimented and tested out the motion rules and the science behind it. Not only that, we were working with ELA, fact-checking, lab notebooks, and how scientists prove experiments.
Nelson McIntyre is an excellent math program. The self-paced structure with easy-to-follow instructional videos allows me and my fellow students to work from both home and school.
Hi, I'm a Propel student, and I'm making a Cedar Strip canoe. The support for my project has just been amazing. I think my project's pretty cool, but there are a lot of other unique projects here going on. I am super excited to get my canoe finished and put in the water and enjoy it with my friends and family.
What makes physical education special at NMC is that the class is taken all year round. This year, although all activities are almost outside, we're still able to experience a lot of choice in a safe and engaging way.
IPSA is designed for students with a medical diagnosis of autism spectrum disorder and requiring intensive programming within a specialized setting with access to teachers and clinicians. These students are nonverbal and use iPads to assist communication.
Wixel Walls is an amazing immersive experience where we as students are given the opportunity to pick a theme and spend a week exploring the various career options and hobbies surrounding that theme. So we get the chance to meet various experts on said theme and learn more about how their career works.
I hope you enjoyed our glimpse here at NMC, and thank you for joining us.
So that was great. I'm just so happy that we're able to capture on video a day in the life of Nelson McIntyre Collegiate, and we're about to discover that same capturing of the lived experiences in its partner elementary schools. I'm now joined by Karen Duffield, principal at Archwood School, one of those 3 partner elementary schools in the Nelson McIntyre Collegiate family.
Good evening. As Christiane said, I'm Karen Duffield and I'm proud to be the principal at Archwood School. I've been here for the last 5 years. Archwood School is home to about 180 students who live in the St. Boniface area, as well as Waterside Estates, which is just on the edge of Transcona.
Yeah, so that's quite a geography, right, Karen?
Mm-hmm.
So tell us more about the student population then.
Sure. At Archwood, we pride ourselves on our diversity. About 1/3 of our students identify as newcomers, 1/3 are Indigenous, and this diversity is what makes us so great. We learn about different cultures, we celebrate all those cultures. We're probably the only one hallway school in LRSD, and we often joke it's pretty hard to get lost here.
You're right. I think you are one. I don't know that you're the one hallway school, but there's a pretty long one at Shamrock. But no, you're right. It's definitely an amazing hallway, full of diversity. So what's one thing you want people to know about Archwood School?
Sure. When we tell people about our school, we almost tell them we're one big family, and we make sure that everyone belongs every day. In a typical year, we have so many whole school activities that make it easy for our family to come together. And one of the challenges we've had this year is how do we keep that sense of connectedness to each other, to our families, our community, and at the same time, making sure everybody's safe. And I'm happy to say we did it. We figured it out. We've had tons of fun. We learned to sign O Canada instead of singing it. We've had spirit weeks, we've had school-wide bingos, and we have lots more planned for the next couple of months.
Joined by David Everly, principal at Nordale School. I've lived in Nordale, in Norwood Flats, not in Nordale, but in the flats where the school happens to be my entire life. And I often pass by Nordale School on my walks. And throughout the years, I've just found the building just so beautiful architecturally, and it's kept that historical charm, yet adapted to fit the needs of the community and the needs of this new century. So Dave, tell us a bit about Nordale School.
Thanks, Christian. Good evening, everyone. As mentioned, Nordale is located in the Norwood Flats, and it's close to the Forks. It's a small community with approximately 136 students and 25 staff members. One of the unique traits about Nordale is that due to the size, logistically, we have traditionally been able to successfully plan many whole school activities which promoted that sense of community and belonging.
And that sense of community is so important in a pandemic. So tell us, how has the pandemic affected the day-to-day, at Nordale?
Well, obviously that pandemic has certainly brought a certain degree of uncertainty for the students. And with that in mind, we made a decision as a staff to try and keep our structures and routines as normal and predictable as possible, while being sure to emphasize the fun aspects of the day in a world that has certainly become a lot less fun over the last year. You know, from over the top, from Elvis in the foyer to over the top announcements in the morning, even events such as the odd curveball, where, for example, O Canada would get replaced by Christmas Carol on those spring mornings where we have a blizzard. Those special things have become elements which the students could count on and look forward to each day.
Yeah. Okay, so the Elvis cutout at Nordale has become quite famous. Tell us more about that. Where did this Elvis cutout come from?
So that came from a parent several years ago, and since that time it's located in front of the office, and people that drop by the school stop and get their picture taken with it. This February, when it was cold, we had a little bit of fun with Elvis. Elvis went on strike and decided he needed a new wardrobe, so we did a contest with the students, and they designed a new wardrobe for Elvis. And a little bit later on, you'll get a chance to see what that looked like in the school as well.
All right. Yeah. So you're talking about the video. So what else are we going to see in that video?
In the video, you're going to get a chance to see some readers theater with the grade 1 students. You'll see some science and technology in grade 4 and 5. You'll watch the kindergarten students as they try to get the wiggles out in the morning, and you'll see some movement breaks in grade 6. As the days turned into weeks, turned into months, and we went through that record cold snap, it was really important for us to get this for our own physical and mental health and well-being to get back outside as soon as possible. The Nordale Nature Playground, which our parent association envisioned, has given us the greatest venue we could possibly imagine to continue that learning outside. These elements, plus a dedicated staff, very supportive community, along with engaged students, continue to make Nordale a safe and caring learning environment that's both fun and engaging. I hope you enjoy seeing a little bit of what we do as much as we enjoyed doing it for you.
That is an amazing playground. Yeah, let's watch that video. I can't wait.
Hi. At Nordale, Mr. Everly stressed at the start of the year that along with keeping kids safe, it was going to be important for us to try to make things as normal as possible. Also, we talked about instilling fun into our activities as much as we could. So for me as a phys ed teacher, my cue was to incorporate our nature playground and the outdoors as much as I could into my lesson planning.
This year we've been outside a lot, especially because of COVID. So we get to do some of our classes outside, like morning meeting, gym, and for this one project for art, we get to use some technology. I find it lots of fun, and I love being outside.
Bringing joy and a sense of fun led us to plan a lot of different types of activities, from snow sculpture contests, we had a festival, games outside, and we also planned a COVID-friendly Spirit Week, where we also were able to find ways to re-energize and invigorate gym blast still being COVID-friendly. We did all this because we want our students to feel that even though things are different, we're going to continue making school special for them, as well as to continue to construct a feeling of being belonging. And I think we've done a really great job of that this year, and I'm really proud of how we do that. Because here at Nordale, that's what we do.
So now I'm joined by Alana White, Vice Principal at Marion School. Hi, Alana.
Hi, Christian. Bonjour, Anine. My name is Alana White, and I have the honor of serving Marion School community as the Vice Principal. Marion School is a kindergarten to grade 8 school with about 123 registered students and 43 staff in the community of St. Boniface. Built in 1950, the school is home to a vibrant community of students and staff, including LRSD's Indigenous Learning Team, serving all schools across the division.
Yeah, and so that Indigenous Learning Team is at Marion School for a reason. Tell us more about the importance of Indigenous perspectives at Marion School.
Indigenous perspectives are a key to the teaching and learning in our school. We work hard to bring Indigenous perspectives and ways of knowing and being into all the aspects of our school life. In the video you are about to watch, you will see the fruits of a week-long initiative where students received teachings from knowledge keepers and explored rattle making.
So I've seen the video, and so I know that the students have also been trying out esports this year. Tell us about that.
Yes, another important aspect of school life this year is creating opportunities for the students foster belonging, teamwork, and collaboration. A new initiative to Marion School has been the beginning of our esports club that features 40 grade 4 to 8 students. While this is a great opportunity during COVID, it is also a wonderful way for students to be able to be part of a school team in the future as well.
Yeah, so speaking of esports and that digital world we live in, I know a few of the staff and students were instrumental in developing our LRSD Minecraft world, Manitou Abe Aki, that is just has seen a record number of downloads across the world. It really is amazing. We'll be telling more about that story in the days ahead. So yeah, tell us more.
Sure. Some of the students were beta testers for the game, and a few of our staff members led the project development as well. Manitou Abiaki is the Minecraft teaching resource in the world that honors and celebrates and explores Manitoba Anishinaabe community. The project was a collaboration between our Council of Grandmothers and Grandfathers, knowledge keepers, LRSD staff, community members, as well as Microsoft. Their hard work produced a detailed and fun, first of its kind teaching and learning resource.
It's been amazing. And so the staff and students at Marion are definitely embracing their 21st century skills. And their physical space will soon reflect that reality too. So the school environment is often referred to as a third teacher in the educational jargon. But it's not jargon to me. It really is true that that physical space we're in when teaching and learning does matter. And so I'm so excited for Marion School, for the community to see its physical environment reimagined with 21st century eyes. Alana, can you tell us more about this long-awaited renovation that we've been asking on behalf of the community for government to consider for a while now?
Absolutely. Marion School and LRSD are proud to announce the first steps towards the renewal and renovation of Marion School. The project will include improvement of the building envelope and windows, as well as the accessibility upgrade, such as an addition of an elevator and modification to the current front entrance. The proposed project is estimated to cost $3.5 million, and the construction should be expected to commence in the summer of 2022. It is so wonderful that the functionality and aesthetics of our school will reflect the inclusive community that comes together within its walls. While the physical space does not define us, these improvements will be a great way for us to celebrate our school and our community.
Fantastic. So I guess we're going to watch a video.
During COVID, esports has been able to provide students with the opportunity to be part of a team, as well as gain a different sense of team experience different from other athletic sports teams. Esports helps students to develop a sense of belonging and mastery. The goal is for students to work on good sportsmanship and gain collaboration skills.
Sikwan is the Ojibwe word for spring, a season of hope. Sikwan holds the promise of better days to come.
Sikwan is the word for sacred rattles, which serve as a connection to the world around us. The rattles hold within the sounds of ice crystals melting and the water flowing over stones as the earth wakes up from winter.
During the spring celebration, the entire school from kindergarten to grade 8 and many staff are involved in a variety of activities with Cookham Hilda and Mr. Briggs. Kindergartens are working on the Sugar Moon mural, while the grade 1, 2, 3s are working on the paper plate rattles, and the grade 4 to 8 students are engaged in making deer hide rattles. On the Friday of the Rattle Making Week, we'll have Bannock and Jam to celebrate our hard work. The rattles will be painted, and at the end of April, we will have a special celebration called Feasting the Rattles, and we are excited to do this.
Thank you, Christian, and all the schools for the information you shared tonight and those awesome videos. Those were great. Now we're going to move into our question and answers. We've been checking out the questions in the chat, and we'll get to those in just a moment. And we'll pose those to our presenters. But for anybody who would like to ask their questions live, please raise your virtual hand. In order to do that, you'll see at the bottom of the screen, there's a button called Reactions. If you click on that, you'll have a menu in which you can select Raise Your Hand. And so we'll be taking questions both from the chat as well as from those who raise their virtual hand. All right, so let us begin with our first question. And it says, what does planning look like for returning to school for students in the fall? And for this question, I'm going to ask Christian if you don't mind taking it and giving us the lead on this one. That'll be awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, sure, you bet. So what does planning look like for students returning in the fall and staff? Well, it's an important question that we've been asking for some time now. So essentially, we're planning a variety of scenarios with principals and vice principals, a variety of staffing scenarios. One scenario being that it looks a lot like it does now, where we need to find 2 meters of distancing, and we need to see a lot more staffing in place. We've hired over 200 additional staff to make it all work, and where we've reassigned teachers as well, and they've been amazing at agreeing to those reassignments and taking them on with joy. And we heard from Nevada, from the Learning from Home School. It's quite elaborate, and so we're serving hundreds of kids, K to 12, in the Learning from Home School. But we're also imagining a world where, with vaccinations taking on importance, maybe not in September, but at some point in 21, 22, we can transition to a post-pandemic world. It can be a response level that is green. We use this color system, right? In Manitoba, red, orange, yellow, and green. And so that's our hope. And so we're also planning for that post-pandemic world.
That is awesome. And, you know, I'm definitely looking forward to that post-pandemic world. Awesome. And you know what? We have another question here, which I'm going to pose to you as well. Okay. It is, with variants of concern in our community, how is the Louisville School Division continuing to protect students and staff?
Well, the variants essentially are asking of us what we've been doing all along. So the one measure that is so critically important is that self-screening that we all do before heading off to school every morning. And so if we're not feeling well in any way, shape, or form, we want to stay home. And so if we've got symptoms that are like cold-like, flu-like symptoms, we stay home, and we monitor. And of course, if things are getting worse, if the symptoms are those combinations of symptoms that would suggest one should get tested, well, you get tested. And so that's been the key. It really has to keeping us safe in schools, is that folks have really taken that so seriously. And also we hear from folks when they do get tested and it happens to be positive, we're often hearing from folks, families or staff, before public health is letting us know. And so that's also super important, because we're on top of it then, ahead of public health, and we're just keeping that contagion outside of the schools. Of course, when in school, because one can be asymptomatic, it's really important to keep 2 meters, to wear masks, and because you just never know. And I know how that's weighing on everyone, but we've just got to remain courageous, not let our guard down, and see ourselves through. And especially with this third wave and these new variants of concern. But essentially, that's it. Those are the measures, right, Warren? It gets tiresome is the thing, and we just got to find a way to help each other remain vigilant and courageous.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And yeah, of course, you know, it's you know, everybody looking out for everyone else, and certainly all those measures is a great way to make sure that we're looking out for everyone. And that I noticed in our chat that Dean shared that watching through Eventbrite, there's not an option to raise your hand. Thanks for letting us know, Dean. I appreciate that. And certainly, if you do have a question, even though you might be able to raise your hand and be able to ask it live, if you do put it in the chat, we will certainly get to your question too. In the meantime, we have another question. You've mentioned renovations happening at Marion School. The beginning date of the summer 2022. Do you know how long they might take?
Well, I anticipate it will likely take a year and a bit because they are major renovations. So the entire envelope of the school is being refurbished. And we're also hopeful that, and I believe the illustrations were, you could see the illustrations while we were talking. We're also hoping that we'll see some important landscaping also, and a new bus loop in the front of the school. So again, we're also excited for Marion School. We've been advocating for years now with government. And it's just so exciting that the design has already started, and as soon as those designs are ready for submission to have a contractor awarded the construction project, we'll get going. So very exciting.
That's awesome. All right, and looks like, hey, look at that, we have a question for Nelson Mack, and maybe just before we get Charlene on here, Christian, if there's anything you want to add to our question before Charlene takes it on, please jump in and I'll read out the question for everyone. For Nelson Mack, many of your students go to post-secondary after high school. Oh, sorry, I know there's a Propel question coming up, and I thought that's what we were going. Christian, do you want to go directly to Charlene on this, or do you want
to? No, I'll let Charlene answer the question.
Yeah.
Sure. We have students who choose to go on to post-secondary after Nelson Mack. They choose to go straight into the workforce, and really our hope and intention is to prepare them for whatever path they choose to go on. We do know our students are very successful in post-secondary, and this year we've actually had a record number of students winning some pretty big scholarships. So we're really proud of that and proud of their work, and we know that they do well in post-secondary as well, or in the workforce, or whatever they choose. So whatever path the student wants to take, we make sure that we help them to get there.
Fantastic. That is great. And of course, we are so proud of all those students who, are a great representation of our family of schools. All right, our next question is, has Nordale School begun to look at year-end or grade 8 farewell celebrations that adhere to current public health restrictions? And since this is directed at Nordale School, David, why don't we ask that you maybe take this question?
Yeah, thanks, Warren. Yeah, so we have started to plan our grade 8 farewell and year-end celebrations. We continue to take our direction from public health in terms of the size of gatherings that we're allowed to have in the building and in our spaces. If you're a parent that's gone through Nordale before, some of the things that you come look forward to, we will have a year-end assembly. Last year it was virtual. We'll have another year-end virtual assembly this year. We've also learned a little bit from our grade 8 farewell celebration last year, how to do things a little bit differently. We've learned a little bit more about traffic flow in and out of the building, so we'll probably be able to tweak some of those things. But for both grade 8s and the rest of the students, we are planning and have started to plan our year-end celebrations to send kids off to the summer.
Fantastic. That sounds great. Thanks, David. All right, next question. Why is the Indigenous Education team located at Marion School? And I'm going to invite Christian to come back and maybe start us off with answering this question.
Sure, but Alana can join me as well. So this team is located at Marion School because we came together actually as a community of schools where we have a portion of the student population that identifies as Indigenous, and so we have a few schools like Marion where there's an important community of children who identify as Indigenous, and we talked amongst ourselves, and we landed on Marion School. And so the objective is, the journey is going to be about that Indigenous learning team having a very special relationship to Marion School in terms of that school community's efforts that were happening before the Indigenous team arriving, at shaping a school culture where, when over 60% of your student population identifies as Indigenous, a culture that really starts to reflect the community in the building. And but now that team isn't just there for Marion School students. So that team also spreads its wings across the school division. You've got teachers at Marion School that are there to teach the Ojibwe language, to teach Anishinaabe Mon. And so we've got that amazing project happening that we hope to see spread to include all students in K-3, despite their identity, learning Anishinaabe Mon. And I could go down the list of all the many things this team nurtures across the school division. Is that pretty fair, Alana? Is that a?
That's wonderful. Yes, we have. It's also helps our students who do have. We want their world inside these walls to reflect who they are, and them to see themselves in our building. So that's very important. And also because of COVID, that's changed ever so slightly, in that the team is also living outside of our walls, as we don't have the teams going in and out of schools because of COVID. So this year is a little bit different in that many of our OLEP team, our Ojibwe language team, are already housed in other schools where they are teaching, and they've expanded because they're staying in one school. They are actually expanding across grades and doing some other really innovative teaching as well.
That's great. That sounds amazing. That's awesome. Well, thanks, Alana. Thanks, Christian. We'll go on to the next question. Let's see. I've been reading government's plan for the future of education, but I have a lot of questions. What's the best way to get the answers?
Do you want me to take that one as well, Warren, or do you want to take it for me?
No. You please, you take this one.
Well, I think the question actually provides a large part of the answer. So I too have many questions about Bill 64 and the 4-pillar strategy that accompanies Bill 64. And so when government says it is the most significant change in public education in the history of public education in the province of Manitoba, they're not exaggerating. It is the most transformative, radical change to the public education we've known for a very long time, that I experienced as a young person in the 60s and 70s going to school, that my mother experienced going to school in the 30s and 40s. That's how far back you can go. And you can go even further. It's transformative in such a significant way. So it really is so very important for everyone to get engaged and ask questions of those proposing the change. So I suggest that people do as I'm doing, ask questions of those in government. So I have a privileged opportunity to ask questions virtually every week of people in government that work at a level equal to mine, deputy ministers and assistant deputy ministers. So I, along with others in roles similar to mine, literally have been meeting weekly on this bill and strategy and asking questions. And but now everyone can do that as well. And so as a citizen, I would direct my questions to those who were elected to government in Manitoba, in the riding where I live.
That's great. That's perfect. And of course, questions are extremely important. And certainly right now, if folks have questions for us, It looks like we have time for a couple more questions.
And you know what I was going to say, Warren, the best way to ask a question though, is to prepare, is to do some reading, to learn. And so I also want to say that like me, now that this is challenging, right? Because this is my work. I had better be reading about all that I can find as it relates to the bill and the strategy. But everything that's available to me is available to everyone in the community. So on the LRSD website, we're linking to the government website, and we're providing all of the information that's available. And really everything I've read is, for the most part, available on the government website and on our website to help as well. Perfect.
So again, check out our website, www.lrsd.net, as we are linking to all the information. And like Christian mentioned, it's, in order to have good questions, good to be prepared. And certainly we want your questions, and we can, and please, if you want, put them into the chat box. Otherwise, we have another question popping up here, and it's one I thought was earlier. Can you tell us a little bit more about Propel? And we'll get Charlene in here in a minute. Unless Christian, you want just to give
let's
us
hand it off to
snapshot.
Let's hand it off to
Charlene. Take it. Sounds perfect. Awesome, Charlene. So why don't you give us a snapshot of of Propel?
Sure. So Propel is a project-based learning program for students in grade 11 primarily, although we do have a few returnee grade 12s as mentors as part of this program. And these students can come from across the division to spend one semester at Nelson Mac in an interdisciplinary project-based learning environment. So basically, they get to pick a passion project, for lack of a better word, to pursue throughout the semester, and they get a number of credits to do so. And so the result is they get a credit in English language arts, ICT, and something else, depending on their project. And it really does allow them to immerse themselves deeply into an area of interest. It really helps them engage in the other subject matters. And we like to say that by doing their project, they get the other credits for free, because the work that they do related to their project really helps them to grow as communicators, as writers, as technology perfectionists. And so the project ideas are possible to account for all of them. There's just so many different things kids can work on. What you saw in the video, currently Jackson is building that canoe. I'm going to say that's the most unique project perhaps we've ever had. But we also always have students who are working in computer science areas, building computer games, or they're working in the arts, whether digital or physical, visual arts, whether they're working becoming designers or real estate agents. I mean, you name it, kids can pursue any idea in Propel. And so it's really, really a pleasure to watch each semester unfold, because every semester is unique. And we are now in our 12th iteration. So we're pretty excited about this one.
That's fantastic. And as someone who's in the building, it's always so much fun to see the students so engaged, working on their passions. And of course, at the end of the semester, they reflect and they do a presentation on their journey, which is always just such an amazing time to take that in. Okay, looks like we have a question here, and I'm going to be calling upon Karen in just a second, because it looks like it's going to be one for Archwood. When I drive down Archibald, I see flags along the fence. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? So Karen, can you tell us about all the flags that you have on the fence?
No problem. I think everybody's driven by Archwood School at some point in their life if they live in Winnipeg, and you'll see all the flags along the fence, and they're for all the countries that our kids come from. And I think you would have seen in the video, they're replicated in the library as well. And so when kids and new families come, that's one of the first things they always say to us is, I saw my flag on the fence, and it already helps them to feel a part of our family and to be at home here. So it's pretty special.
Oh man, what a great way to build belonging at school.
Pretty great, yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. Let's take a look. Oh, and I'm going to go back to Charlene, because this is going to be directed at us here at Nelson. How does the self-paced math work? So Charlene, if you don't mind filling us in on that.
Sure. All our classes in grade 9 and our pre-calculus and applied streams of math are run in a self-paced way. And what that means is the students move through the curriculum at their own pace. And we're able to do that because we've created a bank of video lessons that are all on YouTube. And the students can work through the lesson on YouTube while meeting with teachers, while collaborating with other students, while practicing the skills that they need, problem solving together, problem solving individually or connected to the teacher. And they have to map out their path through the course of the semester. So our language has changed from, have you done your homework to are you on pace for your goals in math? And it's really important language because it really makes them more self-directed. It really helps to create independence. It really helps them to see that they might need to work more in one area than in another, that they can speed through some sections and others take more time. And we've really taken time out or made time not the constant, but a variable, which is really, really helpful to students because we actually don't allow them to move on until they've mastered a subject. And so once they've mastered it, they can move on. And that really just helps their understanding in math. So we've been finding it really quite useful this year in particular, when we're only here half time at school. It's been helping our kids tremendously help with their math for sure.
Fantastic. Awesome. Thank you so much for that. Awesome. And so the question is, my son mentioned he was able to play an Indigenous Minecraft game that was built in LRSD. Is that true? Christian, would you like to walk us through a little bit about that? And I know Marion was really involved too, so I mentioned Alana if we can call on Alana too, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, Alana can join me. And I mean, lots of folks on this call are also very familiar with the game. So yeah, no, it's super exciting. We partnered with Microsoft, and the partnership it goes back to January of 2020, and so after seeking permission from our Council of Grandmothers and Grandfathers in March, we set on a journey to create, to build a world, an Anishinaabe world in Minecraft. And so I can remember that evening in March. I was at Marion's school. We had permission, and I think just literally a few days later, the pandemic hits, and we're all left wondering, where will this journey go in a pandemic? And again, I'm amazed time and time again at how teachers and the community, Chickadee in particular, grandmother Chickadee, who's Anishinaabe, Chris and Mark, Alana and Corey and Bobby Joe, and Greg Kiesman took on this project, and the kids as beta testers and developers, and through the course of the pandemic created this game that, again, I keep hearing from Microsoft is an amazing success across the world, being downloaded everywhere across the world and being played. And so my hope is that we're going to expand on the worlds. The vision was, when we talked together in March with the Council of Grandparents, was Turtle Island. The idea is that we still have 4 other First Nations that happen to be on this land that we call Manitoba, and so this is the work now that has started. We've been talking about how are we going to expand and create 4 more worlds in Minecraft, and a Métis world as well.
Fantastic.
Right, Alana?
Correct. Yeah, you did a great job.
Alana, just before we go, is there anything that you would like to mention about the game at all, or?
It was really fun to watch the students as it was being built. Microsoft gave access to Corey, who was leading the way in our building with Bobby Joe. gave them access every time something new was built, and our kiddos could go in and try something. And it was so exciting to hear them say, "Oh my goodness, there's bison here." And there's Microsoft characters.
This
and
is Corey.
our students,
Yes.
that's Corey. Yep. Yeah.
This is
And
Corey. He's in the game. This is his little character in the game.
And often the kiddos, when they get to one of the knowledge keepers or one of the characters in the game, the character will give them some information. So that's where the learning comes from. They have to take these clues and these ideas, and they go off and search for the next thing they need to search for. So it's a wonderful learning tool.
Oh my God, I love that. Game-based learning is so powerful. That's just so amazing. What a great project. Now, don't go away. We have another Marion question here for you guys. Do we know when the full plans for Marion School's renovation will be made public?
Yeah, well, a spotlight is just a few days away. So we're going to share the news. And we've got other news to share about other buildings and other investments. And so you can look for that soon in a spotlight soon.
Awesome. And it looks like we got time for one more question. And let's take a look. Here it is. And Christian, we'll get you to do the last, the very last one here. Will L'Oreal School Division really merge with 5 other school divisions and become one massive division? I'm guessing they're thinking about Winnipeg specifically. So this is.
Yeah, so that's what the policy, that's what the bill, that's what the strategy suggests. It's that right now there are 37 school divisions in the province, and those 37 school divisions will be amalgamated into 15 regions. And there's this provincial authority that's also going to be created. Right now we have elected trustees in these 37 school divisions. We're doing away with elected trustees. And so Winnipeg, which has 6 school divisions right now, LRSD, Seven Oaks, Winnipeg, Pembina Trails, River East Transcona, and St. James Assiniboia, will all become one region. And so all of that is over 270 schools, over 100,000 students, more than 100,000 students, all become one region. And then you've got 14 other regions that have less population than that one Winnipeg region. And they all answer to this provincial education authority. And the one division that's left intact, because constitutionally they have to be left intact, because Article 23 of the Charter of Rights protects their raison d'être, their right to a school division, and that's the Franco-Manitoban community. So the Franco-Manitobans have a school division. It's only been around since 1995. And it's there because of Article 23 in the Charter of Rights, and so that's left intact with trustees and all of it. So that's the proposed bill. And so if you've got questions about that, wonderments about that, concerns about that, read more, ask questions, get involved, get engaged.
Perfect, and I'm glad we're ending there, because I think that's a wonderful message. So with that final question, we're going to be bringing our evening to a close. I'd like to thank Louise Johnson. I'd like to thank Christian Michalak.
Great job, Warren. I want to thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks to Marlene Murray, all the administrators of our families of schools, Grandmother Bahan, and this wonderful production team behind the scenes. Just doing a wonderful job of making us look as good as possible. And thank you to you at home joining us tonight. Do please look in the chat. We've added a link to our town hall exit survey. If you can just take a minute and let us know what you liked and what you'd like to see more of next time, we'd greatly appreciate that. So just before you go, if you don't mind doing that, that's going to be great information for us. Otherwise, everyone, please have yourself a great and wonderful evening. Do stay safe. Okay, thanks everybody.